We have with us Michael Spence, PIMCO consultant and Nobel Economics laureate in 2001. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. If we look first at this idea of economic growth, financial stimulus versus austerity, what do you think of the pledge that the nations came up with? Was it a bit of a fudge?
Well, yes, it was. I think that's inevitable. But they made progress on fiscal stability and timing, and they seem to have made some progress on financial regulation. But these are enabling conditions for growth. I think what's worrying is that they really didn't address the major issues that affect growth, which is structural change within the advanced economies and rebalancing global demand.
When you talk about rebalancing global demand, that was barely touched on, right? What would you like to have seen done there?
Well, they refer to it and they refer to growth, but I think that hopefully that will be the main item when we get to Korea in the fall.
And what would you like to see done on that issue?
I think what we need, these things take time. What we need is a discussion that's similar in pattern to the discussion of the fiscal balance that involves all the countries, including the surplus ones, about timing of eliminating surpluses and stimulating demand, so that countries don't get caught moving first.
Talking about moving first, just looking at the idea of the bank tax, that was something that George Osborne in the UK was very gung-ho about. Right. France and Germany following suit. But really, this is now going to make quite an unlevel playing field, isn't it?
Well, it could. I mean, this could produce some, what economists sometimes call regulatory arbitrage later on. But I don't think that's the main worry. I think the problem is that the bank tax is largely a political issue, as best I can tell. And in some countries, it's important to have a regulation that allows politicians to explain to the public that when the banking system needs to be bailed out, there's a fund to do it. And other countries just approach it in a different way. But I think your earlier speaker was right. The more fundamental reforms have to do with capital requirements, at least the ones that affect stability.
Yes. Now, President Obama, rather, leading that charge, asking for significant capital requirements. What did you think of that measure?
I think that's probably at the core, or certainly one of the core principles of financial market reform. We need capital requirements that are adequate, and the way we put it in economics, we need them to be counter-cyclical. That is, they need to in ordinary language, they need to store up reserves for when things go bad. And so, you know, you've got lots of situations in which it looks like your capital is adequate, but it turns out it's not because the assets are improperly valued. So that's what we're struggling with on that front.
The idea was that if there was enough capital there, then they could withstand the shock of a future financial crisis. Do you think that that's achievable?
Yes, I do. Now, but there's a balancing act here. I mean, you can clearly achieve it by requiring enough equity in the system. The problem is that requiring too much equity increases the cost of capital, and so that will eventually slow growth. So it's possible to stabilize it. I think what the policymakers are trying to do is find out or figure out where in the middle they want to be.
And just before we go, do you think there is a concern then over a double-dip recession?
Well, there's a risk of it, and probably the principal source of that risk right now is the sovereign debt risk in the advanced countries. But they seem to have addressed that, and you know, you always have a wait-and-see attitude. I mean, they make commitments, but, you know, the world depends on the commitments being met. So I don't think we should be skeptical, but having these deficits by 2012 is probably pretty important.
Michael Spence from PIMCO, thank you very much indeed for joining us.